After missing his rookie year with a partially torn ACL, Nikola Topic is back on the court, and he just made his professional debut with OKC Summer League squad. In this video, we're going to do a deep dive on the film to try to figure out where exactly Nikola's game is at right now, and what his role is going to most likely be for the Thunder this upcoming season. Now, Topic easily does his best work putting pressure on the rim, standing at 6'6" with a physical frame, while also having a sticky handle. Topic has all the tools to be a very effective slasher at the NBA level. Probably my favorite part of his game is how he takes these north to south angles to the basket by simply lowering his shoulder and attacking through contact to carve out these straight line drives. And while many of these finishes are misses, I still think Topic is developing a very effective process. Watch him here open up his stance to then swipe through this reaching defender, and while charging downhill, he's going to gather past this gap defender to then explode through contact in the paint to draw the foul. I love this move here, where the defense is going to initially cheat under this screen, but watch how Topic uses this space to pick up ahead of steam and drive into his chest, to then take one more hard dribble and nudge him underneath the basket. And then if the defense is able to move their feet and stay in front, that's when Topic dives into his bag and looks to change direction. And that blend of ball handling and strength naturally allows him to bump and find these driving angles. He's going to first look to explode to his left, but then he stops and wraps it behind to his right. But even with this defender walling off the second attack, Topic can still flow into a physical spin move back to his left and bump all the way to the basket. When playing out in open space, Topic also has the ball control to put together different combinations. One of his go-to moves is this hanging left to right crossover, where he typically sets it up with a between, then he extends the ball out and whips it back across.
Going one-on-one on the drive, they double team him late.
Now, one area of improvement I do see for Nikola is going to be his patience in the paint. There's many times where he beats his initial man and slices into the lane, but instead of keeping his dribble alive and probing, he typically rushes his gather and forces up a finish, which either leads to off-balance shots or gives the defense more time to make plays on the ball. I would like to see more plays like this, where he first refuses this screen with an in and out, then he briefly slows down, puts his back into his man, and slices across the paint setting up this runner.
5 possessions.
So when looking at all the tools that Topic has as an off the dribble creator, I think he has the perfect build to be an effective slasher at the NBA level. He's physical, he's great at using his body to generate attacking angles, plus he already has a ton of depth to his game off the dribble. When comparing him to other NBA players, the first guy that comes to mind is Austin Reeves. Obviously, Reeves is a couple of inches taller, but the both of them are bigger guards who are highly skilled off the dribble, who also aren't the most explosive above the rim athletes. Now, there are some pretty clear differences between Austin and Nikola's game, but when it comes to off the dribble creation, there's a lot that the two of them have in common. Now, the next thing I want to look at is Topic's passing, because this is where I think he's going to have his most immediate impact for OKC. First, because Nikola puts so much pressure on the rim, he naturally collapses the defense and gets these routine kickout passes. And while these haven't been super punishing throughout the Summer League, simple plays like this will go a long way for OKC's offense, because pretty much all 5 guys on the court can both shoot and put the ball down. So simple drives and kicks like this will be a nightmare to defend. When playing out of pick and roll, Topic also checks pretty much all the boxes as a passer. He's comfortable needling these tight pocket passes or tossing lobs over the top. Plus, he has a really good feel of angles. Look how these two defenders are going to initially jump towards the ball, and watch Nikola simply transfer the ball across to his right, finding this window to sneak this pass through. And Topic is also comfortable reading the second side of the floor. Not all of his passes are super dynamic, but this does lay the foundations for his playmaking going forward. Notice how he reads this weak side defender sliding down. So Nikola in response throws the skip pass setting up an open 3. So while Topic is showing a lot of promising signs as a scorer and creator, I still think he's going to have some growing pains going into his rookie season. First, turnovers is going to most likely be a big issue for him. Physical and aggressive point of attack defense can speed him up, and funnel him into easy giveaways. If he can't get a quick clean blow-by off the dribble, he struggles keeping his dribble alive and absorbing that pressure.
These players have had several weeks to work out and prepare.
And like we've gone over, if Nikola attacks below the arc, he does struggle protecting the ball in traffic. He commonly picks up around his midsection, which leaves him exposed to routine swipe downs. Notice here as Austin Reaves attacks to his left, how he protects the ball by picking it up low to slice past the help defense. But now on this play, Nikola is going to again attack below the arc, but he gets greedy and forces this dribble past his gap defender, which leaves him vulnerable to another steal. So off the dribble, I think Nikola has all the tools to both break down his man and generate some good offense in the paint. I think the biggest thing for him going forward is being able to read the help and adjust to defensive shifts, plus adding some different pickups and strides to slice through traffic. Now it's also important to note that Topic also has a pretty effective floater game, and these are good looks for him to have in his back pocket to counter length or a crowded paint. And he does have a variety of ways to get these looks off. Watch him here elevate off his right foot for a right hand runner, but this time while coming downhill he's going to elevate off his left foot for a more traditional floater. Now when extending out and looking at Nikola's 3-point shooting, this is another area of his game that has a lot of room for growth. As a prospect, Topic was never looked at as a super elite shot maker, and I think that's still the case today. In his first 3 Summer League games, Nikola is shooting below 12% from behind the line. And while this is a pretty small sample size, I still think there's some real mechanical issues with Nikola's form. The biggest thing to me that stands out is his release, where Topic kind of short arms the ball and doesn't get full extension from his elbow. Now overall, I don't like to critique or dive too deep into players' shooting forms, because like we've seen throughout the years, there's been many players who've had success with pretty unorthodox looking shots. But regardless of what players do with the ball on the way up, getting full extension from your shooting arm is pretty much always a must. Now besides what he does with his elbow, I do think Nikola has a pretty solid foundation as a shooter, having clean footwork, always being on balance, and getting the ball from his pocket to set point in one smooth motion. And that's especially the case when Nikola is shooting off the dribble, where he's comfortable rising up going both right and left, and he always gets great flow into his shot.
Got 3 to shoot. Shot is up and in.
Going forward, I do think Topic has the foundation to be a consistent shot maker, but as of right now, I don't see him shooting above 35% from 3 in his first NBA season. Now, in order for Nikola to get consistent playing time for OKC, his defense is going to obviously be a big factor. And while Topic isn't a Lou Dort or Alex Caruso type of defender, I did come away pretty impressed with Nikola's impact. Off the ball, Topic has very good awareness, constantly putting himself in the right spot while reading the defense and playing one step ahead. And that allows him to make up for not having elite speed and length. As the ball handler turns the corner off the screen towards the middle, notice how Topic on the weak side is going to slide down and cover these 2 players spotting up. And he easily sniffs out this pass to the corner. And while committing to help, Nikola also gives very good effort on rotations by digging down in gap to then scramble out and contest these kickout passes. And that effort combined with Nikola's defensive IQ will easily make him a perfect fit in OKC's all-time great defense. Now there are times where Nikola gets caught in no man's land or overcommits to passes and gets himself out of position off the catch, but plays like this have been few and far between. Now when switching over and looking at Nikola's defense on the ball, there are some things that I think OKC should be concerned about. When guarding out in open space, Topic has a hard time keeping his hips squared up with the ball, which leads to him getting out of position and typically giving up a bucket or foul. And then a bigger area of concern is Topic's ability to navigate screens. Because of his slower feet, Nikola typically doesn't extend out to pressure the ball, which automatically puts him at a disadvantage once the screen gets set. Look how much space he's giving the ball handler here. And once this pick gets set, he automatically gets caught behind the ball, which leads to a collapse and open 3. Now, one positive that Topic has on the ball is that he is pretty stocky and physical. If he keeps himself in front, he can use his body to completely wall off drives. Plus, that strength allows him to switch up and hold his zone down low against bigger wings and forwards, which does add additional versatility. Now, obviously, we aren't seeing the very best version of Nikola Topic. I think once he gets his feel back, there is a good chance that the turnovers, shot making, and on-ball defense can make some big improvements. And at the very least, OKC is getting another guy who can create offense off the dribble, which is something that their bench has for sure been lacking over the past couple of years. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. And let me know in the comments who the kids should break down next. The kids here.